Problem 3-78. Simplify the expressions below. Problem A, we have x squared minus 8x plus 16, and it's being divided by the quantity of 3x squared minus 10x minus 8. Now up here, just because this probably looks confusing, it says for x cannot equal negative 2/3 or 4. They're just putting this information out there so that we know, after we factor it, that x cannot equal negative 2/3 or 4, because those values would cause our denominator to equal 0 if they were if that's what the value of x was. So we need to state that x cannot equal those so that we may properly simplify this down. So let's look at simplifying, or actually factoring here first, and then we'll simplify afterward. X squared minus 8x plus 16. Well, that's a perfect square trinomial and should factor into the quantity of x minus 4 times the quantity of x minus 4. Now, if you can't see that right off the bat and write that out, go ahead and factor whichever way you are comfortable doing that. Now, the denominator, we need to factor it as well. We have 3x squared minus 10x minus 8. I'm going to factor it in my head, but if you feel more comfortable using generic rectangle, please go ahead and do that, and then just check to make sure you get the same thing that I get. So I know my first terms in each of my binomials should be 3x and x. When I take it and I look at my factors of 8, I know one of those factors is going to be multiplied by 3, and I have to have a difference of 10. So if I end up with a 4 and a 2, 4 times 3 is 12, 2 times 1 is 2. The difference between 12 and 2 is 10. I need to make sure I have more negatives than positives here. And you can sometimes kind of cheat it if you think about, we're looking to simplify expressions. We're probably going to have an expression in our denominator that matches our expressions in our numerator. So if I already had x minus 4 in my numerator, chances are one of my binomials in my denominator is going to be the same thing. Now we need to simplify it down. We do have common factors. We have an x minus 4 over an x minus 4. So we know that when we divide something by itself, it's going to end up equaling 1. So we have this expression here, x minus 4 over x minus 4. This is going to be the same thing as 1 over 1. So we're really looking at x minus 4, this quantity, times 1, and 3x plus 2 times a 1, which is going to give us the quantity of x minus 4 over 3x plus 2. This is as far as we can go in simplifying. These are each binomials, so remember, you can't cancel out just part of a binomial. You have to cancel out the whole thing. So we get x minus 4 over the quantity of 3x plus 2. For problem B here, we have 10x plus 25 over 2x squared minus x minus 15. Once again, we're going to look to see which factors we have that we share in the numerator and denominator. In order to be able to do that, we need to factor them. 10x plus 25 has a greatest common factor in its two terms here. So if we take it and we factor out a 5, we're going to be left with 5 times the quantity of 2x plus 5. And let's look at our denominator here. We have 2x squared minus x minus 15. So there is no greatest common factor. So I'm going to look to factor it into two binomials. And as I said before, if you need to do a generic rectangle to factor it, go ahead and do that. So 2x squared minus x minus 15, I know my first terms are going to need to be 2x and x, because 2x times x is 2x squared. My last terms are going to be factors of 15, so I'm going to go ahead and try putting in a 5 and a 3. I know 5 times 3 is 15. I know if I multiply my outer terms, 2x and 3, I get 6x. And if I multiply my 5 and my x, I get 5x. The difference between 6x and 5x is 1x. So I know that I am on the right track. I should end up with an x minus 3 and a 2x plus 5. And it's very coincidental that we also have a 2x plus 5 in our numerator. Let's do our simplification step. We've got 2x plus 5, we've got 2x plus 5. When we divide those there, we know we're going to end up with 1. So we can think about this here. When we divide 2x plus 5 and 2x plus 5, it should be 1 over 1. I'm trying not to say cancel out. That's a habit that even I have. Too many people want to say cancel out, and they don't realize that it doesn't just disappear. It becomes 1. So right now we're left with 5 times 1 over 1 times the quantity of x minus 3. Go ahead and multiply that, simplify it the rest of the way. We get 5 over the quantity of x minus 3. There is no more common factors, so we have simplified that expression. Last one, part C. We have the quantity of x minus 4 times the quantity of 2x plus 1, all divided by 5 times the quantity of 2x plus 1. And then we're going to be dividing that by this fraction k minus 3 times the quantity of k minus 4, all divided by 10 over k minus 3. I'm sorry, 10 times the quantity of k minus 3. So first thing we can do, let's just look at each of our individual fractions here. Is there anything that we can simplify before we actually do our division step? We have 2x plus 1 and we have 2x plus 1. These two terms, when we divide them, would give us 1. So 2x plus 1 becomes 1, and so does the 2x plus 1 in the numerator. If we look inside this fraction on the right, we have common terms, k minus 3 and k minus 3. So this k minus 3 becomes 1. This k minus 3 becomes 1, because anything divided by itself is 1. Now I'm going to rewrite what I have. K minus 4 times 1 is going to remain as just k minus 4. 5 times 1 is going to be 5. And I still have divided by 1 times k minus 4 is going to give me another k minus 4. And this one is over 10. Now, if you haven't divided fractions in a while, just know that if I'm dividing by a fraction, it's always going to be the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. If you think about it, if I had 10 divided by 2, well, we know 10 divided by 2 is 5. If we think about 10, and we were thinking about multiplication, 10 times what also gives us 5? Well, that would be 1/2. 2 and 1/2 are reciprocals. So don't forget that. That's what we're going to be looking at here. So k minus 4 all over 5 there. When we multiply it, we're going to multiply by its reciprocal of our 10 over k minus 4. So when we do that, we're going to end up with 10 times the quantity of k minus 4 over 5 times the quantity of k minus 4. Do we have any common factors? If you said yes, you're right. We have k minus 4 and k minus 4. That binomial will divide, or I should say, these two binomials will divide to give us 1 over 1. And we also have 10 and 5. 10 divided by 5 is going to be 2. So we're going to end up with our answer being 2. So we have simplified our expression. If you have further questions, please make sure you ask your teacher. I apologize if this is hard to understand. Not feeling so well today, but hopefully this did help you. Have a good evening.